a positive story about the city of Chicago. You won't see this on Fox News.
When you hear about Chicago in the news, it's rarely positive. Stories about gun violence and police corruption crowd the news cycle. But executive producer Wes Moore is bringing an inspirational story straight out of Chicago's South Side with his new PBS documentary, All the Difference. The film chronicles 5 years in the lives of two black Chicago teens as they navigate out of their South Side neighborhoods through high school, college, and beyond. Here is a sneak peek.
Statistics predict that Robert and Krishan will never get to college, but they have other plans.
God didn't give up on me. My family didn't give up on me. Why should I give up on myself? I just want to make a positive impact in the society I live in.
See what it takes for these young men to succeed.
I've had a chance to see my mother again. I said, look how far I made it. I made you proud.
All the Difference on POV.
Joining us now is executive producer, author Wes Moore, and Robert Henderson, who's one of the subjects in the film. They join us from Baltimore. Gents, how you doing?
We're doing great, Ron. Great talking to you, man. Thanks for having us.
So Wes, I want to start with you, and that is when we talk about this life one has to navigate. I lived and worked in Chicago for 6 years, and when I hear people like Bill O'Reilly and others talk about what's happening in Chicago from their seats in New York, I go, y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about, because you haven't bothered to literally go there and understand that. I remember when living there, the first thing I noticed was there were no school buses. And so when I would hear people talk about kids having to cross gang territory, it hit me. I said, wait a minute. Well, if I got to take a city bus and I got to go through neighborhoods, because the school bus was actually something that was sort of a protector, if you will. That's something that's simple. The average person doesn't even realize they don't have in Chicago.
Well, you know, and it's really one of the things that I wanted to talk about and we really wanted to dispel with this whole documentary piece is, you know, there's this narrative that goes around about the people who are having challenges, the people who make it through, is because they're not working hard enough, or because they just need to, you know, they need to, you know, put more impact behind their efforts. And the truth is, there are structural challenges that sit in the way of persistence. And as we're having this conversation about K-12, you know, we can get excited about students who are finishing high school and finishing high school degrees. But the truth is, when you think about this 21st century economy where we find ourselves, access and persistence in higher education is going to matter. Access and persistence and credentialing in higher education is going to matter. And so if we're not thinking about the systemic structures that are keeping the financial, the academic, and the social transitions difficult for students, then I think we're just, you know, I think we're making a mockery of the entire conversation. And that's really what we wanted to try to highlight with All the Difference. These success stories are here. We want to profile them and we want to make them standard.
Robert, why did you want to participate in this?
Well, first off, thanks for having us here. Well, I saw this as an opportunity for me to tell not only my story, but the community story as well. This movie is not about, you know, my life or Krishan's life, but it's about the bigger picture of really trying to get the community involved and see the issue that, you know, the minorities face, trying to be the first generation to go to college and be successful.
And Robert, when you hear national media talk about Chicago, talk about the violence, the labels that are applied, how does that make you feel?
I really feel like you hit it right on the head, you know. You hit it right on the head when you would say that people don't really know what they're talking about because they didn't really grow up in that area. They don't know the struggle of growing up in the area. Dangerous like the South Side of Chicago. You know, they only want to highlight all the negative, which we do have some, you know, some stuff we need to improve on. But there is some positive things that we are trying to do and improve on the South Side of Chicago, but yet the media don't like to cover that part.
The other piece is that, you know, that the neighborhoods that we live in and the communities that we live in, they aren't that way by accident, right? There are structural challenges. There's systemic racism, and there's things that have to be unwound and undone if we're talking about, you know, really making long-term improvements. There are structural disinvestments that have happened. And so as we're thinking about this and the role that higher ed and the role that education plays into that, that's really the thing that we want to try to profile and show, is that you cannot have a conversation about community community reinvestment and to have a conversation about community impact if education and access for education for young men like Robert and Krishan are not at the center of that conversation?
Wes, your book, The Other Wes Moore, One Name, Two Fates, certainly was a successful book. And how does that speak to this issue in terms of, after doing that, did that cause you to say, you know what, I need to be able to expand this concept beyond the book and to put it in broadcast form? Because it appears to me that chronicling their story is a way to say folks need to see how there could be two fates for someone.
That's exactly right. And I think one thing that we saw and that I really realized, the other Wes Moore was really the start of all the difference, was how exactly can we take these very real situations and take the narrative so people understand the human impact of these decisions. The Other Wes Moore was not about a good Wes and a bad Wes. The Other Wes Moore was not about a good mom and a bad mom. It was not about one kid getting sent away and the other kid didn't. It's about how do we think about our lives in an entirety, and why do the results of these lives matter. And so we wanted to do the same thing with All the Difference, right? Is take the life of Krishan and Robert and really make the viewer invested in them, invested in their success, understand that their winning does matter to all of us, and then being able to really have a deep explanation into their life as to what were the things that did make all the difference for their long-term success. They've changed the entire trajectory of their family, both Robert and Krishan. Why does that matter to all of us,
right,
if we're being serious about what it means to be patriotic in this country?
Wes, Robert, we appreciate it. All the Difference, folks. Ed will have his national broadcast premiere on the Point of View series September 12th, 10 p.m. Eastern on PBS. Gents, thanks a lot.
Bless you, Roland. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and this is something that we all need to take a look at, because it shows the positive. It shows where we can go, okay, not where a lot of us are forced to go.